You've written this piece, Elizabeth Colbert, that looks at both Governor Christie and the Port Authority. Talk about the significance of this now new slew of subpoenas and what they mean.
Well, it's really a fascinating story to watch unfold, and what seems to me to be really interesting about this story is we really have two alternatives, right? One, that Governor Christie was told directly, and I approve of this message, I approve of these bridge closings, or he had a bunch of people in there who thought, were acting completely without telling the governor, but thought that this was something that was good to do. Either one does not reflect, terribly well on the Christie administration.
And the significance of David Wildstein, his childhood friend, who a statement was issued out of the Christie administration saying he, hardly had seen him in years. And then you've got this photograph from September 11th of them standing together. And then this subpoena that's going out to the helicopter aviation unit. The idea that he may have actually flown over the George Washington Bridge to survey the traffic jam when he says he hardly knew anything about it.
Well, I don't know if you read and anyone can access them, the massive documents that were, released last month that sort of began this whole slew of news coverage, but there were huge portions that, or I shouldn't say huge portions, significant portions that were redacted, and we would all like to know, what were in those redacted portions. And now you have a bunch of people also pleading the Fifth. That was rejected yesterday. That was part of yesterday. In the midst of issuing this flurry of subpoenas, they also rejected the idea of two people, I believe, that they could legitimately plead the Fifth in this case. So there are lots of fascinating aspects to this that we haven't seen play out yet.
It's gotten very comical. After Wildstein came out saying that he had evidence that Christie knew, then Christie's team came out with a press release saying that, trying to taint Wildstein, saying that as a 16-year-old kid, he sued over a local school board election. He was publicly accused by his high school social studies teacher of deceptive behavior.
Yeah, it doesn't get more, schoolyardy than the schoolyard, really. I mean, we are literally back in the schoolyard. And it's, as you say, it's got a really comical aspect. And when you're in politics, you don't necessarily want to be the butt of the late-night jokes.
And yet, when you look at the gravity of what took place, and now the mayor of Hoboken, the mayor of Fort Lee, talking about the retaliation against them. I mean, in the case of Hoboken, trying to get funds for a city that was so deeply affected by Hurricane Sandy. That goes to, of course, the issue of climate change as well. But having to agree to a local private development in order to get those funds. And then Fort Lee, just being a Democrat who wasn't supporting the governor, he wanted the news to be massive landslide with a lot of Democratic support. But you talk about the Port Authority and Governor Christie, but the history of the Port Authority, what that means, and its significance for people who might be listening well outside of the range of this city.
Well, that, I think, is a really interesting aspect of this story, that the Port Authority itself has a long and distinguished history. So the Port Authority, which controls the bridge, operates the bridge, runs the bridge, and which had to order the lane closings, also operates most of the big transportation hubs in the New York metropolitan area. And it was founded during the Progressive era. It was really an outgrowth of this belief, interestingly, that we had to take certain functions, these engineering functions, away from Albany and Trenton, which are, known or sort of sinkholes of corruption, and always have been, to be frank. And we are going to put it in a very professional agency, and they are going to work in this different way. And they actually did. They completed the George Washington Bridge, for example, below cost and ahead of schedule, something we really can't even imagine right now. And they were a very professional agency for quite a while, and in recent years, they have increasingly become this place, where people like Christie put people that they want to get jobs for, patronage jobs for.